It was a well-known fact in Hollywood that Julian Vance, the titan of the silver screen, despised clout chasers. So when Caleb Harris, a relative newcomer, started gaining traction for his uncanny resemblance to the A-lister, the consensus was that his nascent career was already dead on arrival. Later, when a journalist cautiously broached the subject with Julian, his response was disarmingly simple. He said it wasn't surprising that when you kiss someone enough, you naturally start to look like them. The internet erupted. The side-by-side comparisons of Caleb's promotional stills and Julian's candid shots flooded every social media feed. What might have been a coincidental similarity was twisted by the sheer volume of photos into a calculated, predatory campaign on Caleb's part. The narrative solidified he was a copycat, a parasite. The pressure became unbearable. Caleb's agent, her voice a strained wire of panic over the phone, finally called to strategize. She lamented that while the agency initially saw the slight resemblance as a marketable quirk, they never anticipated that in costume for his new period piece, Caleb would adopt Julian's very essence, his mannerisms becoming an almost perfect mirror. She demanded to know if this was all a deliberate scheme. Caleb, feeling a familiar exhaustion settle in his bones, calmly told her he needed a moment. He rose and locked the door to his dressing room, a small, sterile space backstage at the talk show he was scheduled to appear on. He explained that he was about to go on and suggested they discuss it later. His agent was not so easily deterred. She accused him of dodging the question and demanded he confess if he'd been secretly studying Julian's performances. A headache began to bloom behind Caleb's eyes. He countered with weary sarcasm, asking why he would bother studying Julian's acting when it was just as likely Julian had been copying him. The absurdity of the statement was met with a sigh from his agent. She warned him to keep such thoughts private, lest he invite a career-ending firestorm. She reminded him of the vast chasm between their respective places in the Hollywood hierarchy. Seeing the conversation was pointless, Caleb offered a few non-committal sounds of agreement. Before hanging up, his agent delivered the final blow. Julian's team was demanding a formal explanation, and she had arranged for Julian himself to be a surprise guest on the show so they could talk it out on air. The line went dead before Caleb could protest, leaving him in a state of quiet dread. How was he supposed to face his ex-boyfriend after all these years? As he stewed in his anxiety, a sharp rap came at the door. A production assistant called out that the show was about to start. Caleb answered, but when he opened the door, the hallway was empty. A small, bitter pang of disappointment hit him, a reminder of his place on the food chain. He turned to close the door, but a strong, elegant hand shot out and stopped it. The cuff of a tailored shirt was rolled back just enough to reveal a forearm laced with taut veins. Caleb looked up into the face he had spent years avoiding. Julian Vance loomed over him, a slow, predatory curve to his lips. He murmured that it had been a long time. Before Caleb could form a response, Julian pushed the door open, stepped inside, and locked it behind him. As Caleb started to speak, Julian bent down and swept him into an embrace. His lips were on Caleb's, a damp, insistent pressure that parted his own and stole the air from his lungs. Caleb shoved him away, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, his voice shaking when he asked if Julian was insane, reminding him they were broken up. Julian ignored him. A hand clamped around Caleb's waist, pulling him back with an unyielding strength. The second kiss was more punishing, his teeth grazing Caleb's lower lip until the metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. Just then, frantic knocking echoed from the other side of the door. A muffled voice called out, asking if anyone had seen Mr. Vance. As Caleb opened his mouth to answer, Julian silenced him with another kiss. Outside, The staff grew more agitated, noting that the door was locked and wondering where Caleb was. Julian pulled back slightly, his voice a low whisper against Caleb's ear. He commented that it seemed Caleb hadn't exactly climbed to the top of the industry. Caleb shot him a venomous look, retorting that he had Julian to thank for his current predicament with the online mobs. Julian hummed thoughtfully, conceding that perhaps it was his fault. But then his tone shifted, becoming dangerously soft as he added that, if he recalled correctly, he never actually agreed to the breakup. A sense of alarm prickled Caleb's skin. Before he could question Julian's intentions, the sound of a keycard sliding into the lock sent a jolt of panic through him. He acted on instinct, pushing and pulling Julian across the room until he was concealed behind a large, freestanding vanity mirror. He scrambled back to his own chair just as the door swung open. A staffer saw him and frowned, asking why he was in there. Caleb feigned grogginess, rubbing his eyes and claiming he'd fallen asleep. The staffer seemed skeptical but moved on, inquiring if he had seen Julian. As Caleb denied it, a soft clatter came from behind the mirror. He quickly created a diversion, saying something had fallen off the counter. The staffer's eyes narrowed, noticing Caleb's mouth. He asked what happened to his lip. Caleb touched it, his fingers coming away with a smear of blood. He stammered that a dog had bitten him earlier. The staffer looked at him with profound disbelief before taking a step towards the mirror. Just as Caleb was about to intercept him, Julian stepped out from behind it, looking utterly composed. The staffer, stunned, asked why he was in there with Caleb. A ghost of a smile played on Julian's lips as he glanced at Caleb. He said he was there to settle a private score. The staffer, intimidated by Julian's star power, didn't press further and, after a few brief instructions, departed. Caleb's anger flared. He demanded to know why Julian hadn't stayed hidden. Julian, feigning discomfort, rubbed his lower back and complained that it was difficult for a man of his height to cram himself into such a small space. The performance was laughably fake. Caleb could only scoff, muttering that all Julian knew how to do was play the victim. They went on set separately. They were joined by Amelia Thorne, a popular actress who had recently starred opposite Julian. Rumor had it her team had tried to orchestrate a PR romance, an offer Julian had flatly refused. Amelia's expression soured when she saw him. His surprise appearance had clearly derailed her own plans for the interview. The show's topic was first love, and the host was notorious for his ability to extract gossip. Before the official interview began, Amelia tried to engage Julian in conversation, remarking on the coincidence of them both being there. Julian ignored her completely. The host, sensing an opportunity, noted Julian's aversion to talk shows and asked what special reason had brought him here today. Julian's gaze drifted to Caleb. He said he came for a person, then directed a pointed question at Caleb, asking if he was right. Caleb looked away, refusing to acknowledge him. The host, misreading the situation, glanced toward Amelia. His attention was then drawn to their mouths. He pointed out with theatrical curiosity that both Julian's and Amelia's lipstick appeared smudged. The studio audience buzzed with speculation. Amelia, recovering her composure, touched her lips delicately and said it was just an accident, a statement that only fueled the frenzy. The host turned to Julian, asking if his lipstick was also accidentally smudged. Julian's eyes flickered to Caleb for a fraction of a second before he answered. It had been rubbed off by someone, he said, adding that the person in question didn't seem to want him to talk about it. The interview began in earnest. The host asked the three guests to describe their first love. Amelia spoke first, her gaze fixed on Julian, describing a serious, script-obsessed colleague she fell for after entering the industry. When the host turned to Caleb, he felt Julian's expectant gaze on him. He stated flatly that he'd never had a first love. The host pressed, finding it hard to believe he'd never even had a crush. Caleb, through gritted teeth, insisted he hadn't. Finally, the host addressed Julian, referencing rumors of a beautiful first love story from his past. Julian nodded, his eyes finding Caleb's again as he said his first love was very beautiful. Caleb couldn't suppress a small, incredulous snort. The audience, convinced he was talking about Amelia, swooned. Caleb's reaction was interpreted as jealousy, the bitter third wheel in a budding romance. The host moved to a rapid-fire round of questions. He asked if they had ever fallen in love on set. Amelia held up a yes sign. Caleb decisively held up a no. Julian paused, his eyes on Caleb, before slowly raising his own no sign, explaining that he'd just seen an answer that made him happy. Next, the host asked if their first love had a sad ending. Amelia and Julian both held up a no. Julian, noticing Caleb's confusion, elaborated for the entire audience. He explained that it wasn't a sad ending because while his ex had broken up with him, he had never accepted it. He added that this person now refused to acknowledge him, as if he was something to be ashamed of. The audience was in an uproar, realizing the story didn't fit Amelia. Julian then interrupted the host, suggesting a better question. He proposed that the host should ask whether their first love was a man or a woman. A cold knot formed in Caleb's stomach. Julian let out a soft, mirthless laugh, saying that, of course, the coward in question would never tell the truth. He looked directly into the camera, his voice smooth and clear. He concluded by saying that a lot of people say he and a certain someone look alike, and that it made perfect sense. After all, if you kiss someone enough, you naturally start to look like them. The show's aftermath was explosive. The ship Jalab was born, and with it, a deluge of fanfiction and fan art depicting them as a tragic, star-crossed couple. The narrative of Caleb being a clout chaser was instantly replaced by this far more compelling romance. Watching the clips of their secret history go viral, Caleb found himself lost in thought. For years, he had meticulously avoided Julian, their shared history a secret he guarded jealously. Julian had become a supernova while Caleb remained a minor satellite, our orbits only now colliding because of this manufactured scandal. His agent called, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. She asked if the first love Julian had been talking about was him. Caleb managed a single, quiet syllable of confirmation. There was a pause, and then his agent recalled a specific night years ago when a heartbroken Caleb had binged on takeout, gotten drunk, and been caught on camera trying to waltz with a stray cat, a video she had paid a hefty sum to suppress. She realized now that had been the day of the breakup. Before Caleb could deflect, she informed him that she had gotten them both booked on a new reality dating show. The network was capitalizing on the buzz, and Julian's team was fully on board. The call ended. Turning around, Caleb was startled to find Julian standing right behind him. Julian asked softly about the poster Caleb used to have hanging in his bedroom. Caleb defensively touched his neck, denying it was his, claiming it was a gift he felt bad throwing away. He was fast-tracked onto the reality show, where he and Julian would serve as love commentators for 4 pairs of non-celebrity contestants. During one segment, the commentators analyzed a couple, Lisa and Mark, who were on the rocks. One commentator noted that Lisa was avoiding Mark, but Mark was clearly trying to reconcile. Caleb said he thought Mark would fail. Julian, at the exact same moment, said he would succeed. The other commentators laughed, remarking that they had their own romantic drama right there in the observation room. Later, Julian abruptly changed the subject, stating that he'd heard Caleb was getting close with another actor from his last project. The on-set mood shifted. It was a direct, jealous jab. Caleb hissed at him to remember they were filming. Julian feigned innocence, arguing that the commentator's own romantic experiences were relevant to their analysis. The others, sensing high drama, encouraged Caleb to answer. Cornered, Caleb sighed and said no. There was nothing between him and the other actor. The tension visibly drained from Julian's face, replaced by a smug satisfaction that was obvious to everyone. One of the female commentators teased him about it, noting this behavior was a far cry from the aloof persona he usually projected. Julian didn't deny it, simply saying someone had a significant effect on him. He then looked at Caleb with a wounded expression, saying Caleb seemed unhappy he was there. He spoke just loudly enough for his microphone to pick up, his voice laced with manufactured hurt. He wondered aloud if Caleb was ashamed of their past, asking if a relationship between two men was so unspeakable. Or maybe, he finished, Caleb was just ashamed of him. The live comments on the stream exploded with fans begging Caleb to comfort the heartbroken movie star. Caleb was speechless, blindsided by this new, masterfully manipulative side of Julian. The man he saw now was a universe away from the one he had first met. That Julian had been a quiet, beautiful boy working at an exclusive, high-end Hollywood club, his time sold by the hour to the rich and bored. Caleb, 20 and rebellious, had gone there on a whim, using his father's name for access. He had picked Julian from the lineup, drawn to his proud, defiant eyes. In the private suite, Julian began to unbutton his shirt, but Caleb stopped him, sliding a stack of bills across the table and asking him to play video games instead. Julian, surprised, had agreed. He was brilliant at it. He explained he used to play a lot in college, revealing he was a top student who had fallen on hard times. Caleb, starved for genuine connection in his own cold, wealthy home, paid for Julian to be with him constantly. One night, after a vicious fight between his parents, Caleb lit his first cigarette. Julian gently took it from his fingers and stubbed it out, his eyes full of a concern Caleb had never known. In the hazy, smoke-filled room, Caleb kissed him. Julian didn't pull away. When things started to escalate, Caleb stopped, pulling back to confess that he was gay. Julian had simply smiled, gently pushing Caleb onto his back. "Me too," he'd whispered. "So don't be afraid." Their life together was a fragile bubble of happiness until Caleb's family went bankrupt overnight. They moved from a mansion to a cramped, run-down apartment. It was there, one afternoon, that Caleb overheard Julian on the phone with a friend. He heard Julian say, "Sorry, I'm a bottom too. Two bottoms can't make it work." The words struck Caleb like a physical blow. He believed Julian was changing himself, forcing himself into a role he didn't want, just for him. He decided to end it. He gave Julian the last of his money, which Julian refused. His eyes red as he asked if Caleb was breaking up with him because he thought he was dirty. Now, years later, after the reality show taping, Caleb quietly logged into an anonymous account named Forget Me Not and sent a message to Julian's official profile, "Happy birthday." It was the 5th year he had done it. This time he got a reply, "You remembered." The next day, his agent called with news of a magazine shoot. It was an opportunity far above Caleb's pay grade. The catch: it was a special birthday feature for Julian, and the magazine exclusively shot real couples. Julian himself had requested him. At the studio, Julian was already in makeup. Caleb tried to slip past him, but Julian's voice, low and amused, stopped him. He asked why Caleb was pretending not to know him when they were about to do a photo shoot. The photographer, a friendly man, encouraged them to relax and get comfortable, commenting that they made a handsome pair. Julian's smile held a dark, unreadable quality as he agreed they had a certain marital chemistry. The photographer then informed them that for the most powerful shots, he'd prefer they shoot without shirts. Caleb was stiff and awkward, the resulting photos lacking any spark. The photographer was getting frustrated. Julian suggested they take a break, that he would help Caleb find the feeling. He led Caleb to a deserted alley behind the studio. There, under the harsh sunlight, he gently cupped Caleb's face and kissed him. It wasn't forceful like before, but a slow, searching exploration that melted all the tension in Caleb's body. When they returned, the shoot was transformed. The photos were electric, intimate, and full of a story that needed no words. Caleb found himself leaning into Julian's solid frame, a profound sense of security washing over him. Later, as they reviewed the images, Julian stood behind him, his body a warm presence enveloping Caleb, his scent intoxicating. He asked Caleb which photo he liked. Caleb, flustered, pointed to one where Julian's face was mostly in profile, muttering that it was better, otherwise his fans would accuse him of stealing the spotlight again. Julian laughed softly, saying his fans would be thrilled, and so would he. Leaving the studio, Caleb was ambushed by a swarm of paparazzi. He managed to escape into his hotel through a back entrance, but they were relentless, even managing to get into the lobby. As he fled up a staircase, a hand grabbed his wrist and pulled him into a room. It was Julian's. He claimed to have just moved into the hotel, an excuse so thin it was transparent. From another room, a Shiba Inu trotted out and began sniffing Caleb's legs. Julian introduced the dog as Rai, a rescue who, like him, had been abandoned. He then produced a single cupcake with a candle. "Will you celebrate with me?" he asked. He told Caleb about the forget-me-not fan who had messaged him for 5 years, whose profile picture was a corner of their old apartment, a detail Caleb hadn't even realized. The secret was out. Caleb fell silent, not knowing what to say. He had spent 5 years agonizing over their breakup, replaying Julian's words in his head. Julian looked at him, his expression like a lost puppy's, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "Why did you leave me, Caleb?" In the darkness, Julian blew out the candle and kissed him. A hot tear fell from Julian's eye onto Caleb's cheek. In that moment, Caleb's resolve shattered. He decided he didn't care about roles or expectations. He just wanted Julian back. He pushed Julian onto the bed, ready to take control, to be what he thought Julian needed. But Julian stopped him, a look of pure confusion on his face. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I thought you were a bottom." Caleb stared at him. "Who told you that?" Julian laughed, a real unrestrained laugh. "You did. I heard you on the phone 5 years ago." The realization dawned. "Caleb," Julian said, his hands gently holding Caleb's wrists above his head. "That was a joke. I was talking to a friend. Why would you ever think that's why we broke up?" The sheer absurdity of it all, of 5 wasted years over a misunderstood joke, was both heartbreaking and liberating. Julian's voice grew serious. "Please don't ever say we're breaking up again. It hurts too much." "Julian," Caleb whispered, feeling the weight of years lift from his shoulders. "Happy birthday. And it's been too long." The next morning, the internet was on fire with photos of Caleb leaving Julian's hotel room at dawn, followed by pictures of Julian himself leaving a short time later, making no effort to hide his identity. The hashtags trended worldwide. When Caleb confronted him, Julian was unapologetic. He admitted the paparazzi were actors he had hired, that the trending topics were bought and paid for. He had engineered the entire thing. Then, with a look of utter earnestness, he suggested that since everyone already knew, they might as well make it official. "What do you say, babe?" Caleb, looking at the man who had orchestrated a nationwide media spectacle just to win him back, could only sigh and agree. Julian immediately posted an official announcement, complete with a pre-written draft for Caleb's own account. It became clear that Julian Vance, the untouchable A-lister, was, at his core, a complete romantic fool. He spent his days liking every supportive comment, getting into playful arguments with fans in Caleb's comment section, and was even caught using his main account to like explicit Jalab fan art. One evening, Caleb came home to find Julian on the couch, stroking Rye with one hand while scrolling through a tablet with the other. He peered over his shoulder. "What are you reading?" Julian grinned, showing him the screen. It was a fanfiction. "This one's really good," he said. "Wanna read it with me?" Caleb declined. "How about the graphic novel version?" Julian offered, flipping to a different page. It was another explicit one. "You know," Julian said, his eyes gleaming with mischief, "I'm learning a lot from these. Some of the scenarios are very creative. Maybe we could rehearse a scene tonight?" Caleb looked at his ridiculous, lovesick, and utterly incorrigible boyfriend. He rolled his eyes, a smile he couldn't contain spreading across his face. "You are an absolute idiot."